In this clip, I talk about a viewer's question or experience that they had with Swarm services deploying and failing while they're doing an image prune at the same time. So, Reto, hopefully pronounced your name close. Hello, Brett. If you have a service which is created but not started yet, waiting for mount to appear, as soon as the mount point is there, the service starts. But if while in create state, Docker system prune is called, the service will not start because the resources are deleted from Docker system prune. Would you rate this as working as designed or as a bug? I would say that's a bug, and I would file that in the Moby. I would file that as Moby. Because regardless of what driver you're using, whether you're using Rexray or the local default driver, basically it sounds like what it is. It's technically an oversight, right? The service hasn't created the task, or the task has been created, but the task hasn't been able to create a container because it's dependent upon a volume resource that doesn't exist, right? So that means that the prune command, and this is going to be part of the problem, okay? The prune command is not swarm aware. So the prune command cannot look at the task or the service in order to figure out if there's potential for it to be used, right? For that image to be used. So I could see this being a case where there needs to be a prune command specifically for swarm, right? And it's interesting that you state this, because I have not, with any of my clients or users, I have not experienced this, but I can see exactly how this would happen, right? Because what happens is when you create a task, the task can't create the container, right? Because technically when you create a container, we all use Docker Run. Docker Run does two things for you. It does a create, and then it does a start. In order to create a container definition, it has to type out this Docker create line, which most of us don't use that, but that command does exist. And that command needs the volume when it's created. It's essentially creating the metadata before it launches the container. And so when you do a task, the task is waiting on the volume, from the driver, I guess, in your case, to be created so that it can create the container metadata. And in your case, yeah, so it must be doing it out of order, right? It's downloading the image as part of preparing. And then when that preparing is finished, then it tries to create the container, but it's still waiting on the volume. So the way to kind of fix that, at least on Docker's end, is that in the task ordering of actions, it should create the volume first before it downloads the image, right? Or at least start the process of the volume and then wait for the volume. That way, the image is the last thing downloaded. So hopefully you don't prune out the image. What I would say on that is your way to solve this, I mean, obviously there's a bug. I would recommend you definitely file a bug. You can even @Brett Fisher me, and I can give more clarity in there if you want. If you just want to @ me in your issue description, @Brett Fisher, I can help out if needed, right? Because it is an open source community project, and you would do this on Docker/Docker, not in the Swarm kit, but do it on Moby/Moby. So all the issues related to Swarm, even though they might be done in Swarm kit, you would still Moby. And so, yeah, so you could go in here to the issues, create a new one, follow their guide, right, on what to do for creating a new issue. And then they'll probably say, hey, can you open up a Swarm kit issue as well? Because this is definitely this might be a Swarm kit bug. This might be considered a prune bug, right? And we want to track it in both places, but Moby is always where you start. And I would say for you, if you're going to write a script, which is what I do, I don't actually have a script, but I have a inline script example. So what I do over here in Swarm, under stack prune, I do a little while true right here, right? So I'm doing an inline bash loop that does while true basically forever, do Docker image prune. So what I would do personally is I would turn this into a script that would not run that image prune command on a specific node if there was any, if there was any tasks that weren't. I'm already seeing a fallacy, a problem with my idea. But I would basically have it look and see if there's any tasks that are not created or any services that are not matching, right? They're in sort of a preparing state of some sort. And you might even have to use a script that would pull from do a curl on an API or something. So it might get a little tricky. You also then now have to do this against a Swarm API, which requires permissions. So you couldn't always do this on every worker node. But essentially, the workaround here is somehow to get you to make sure that there is nothing waiting on volumes before it prunes images, right? Or on your images, do an image prune here, and somehow we need to figure out, I don't know if this is possible, we would figure out how to do a prune only on old images, right? So images that are maybe been downloaded for a while. And maybe that would help. Not sure. But there's interesting workarounds there. I would definitely be interested in following that bug. So as soon as you post it, ping me in Twitter, or if you just ping me in the GitHub issue, I'll get an email, and I would definitely love to follow that because, yeah, that sounds like a bug. So great question. Thanks for watching. Click the subscribe, and the notification bell down there will let you know when I go live every week to take your questions on Docker and DevOps. You can watch these videos over here, or you can just go watch those cat videos you've been meaning to watch.